There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome again to our little expo here. My name is Brian Garcia, Restoration Management Company. Today we have four of us who are going to be talking to you a little bit about the new normal, as everybody's calling it. And today is really going to be more on the impact on vendors and how we are working with our customers moving forward with our bidding processes. Possibly looking at how costs are going to be changing in the future, how they're cascading across the board from our suppliers, time increases because of the travel necessities, and just the different subjects regarding that. Today we have two or three of us normal, and we're introducing Scott today also from IQV Construction. Scott, since you are new here, why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
My name is Scott Ferris. I'm with IQV Construction and Roofing, and I do the sales and estimating for the construction side.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you taking your time today to join us. Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself again.
Oh, well, my name is Daniel. I'm the owner of Endure Painting, and we're happy to be here today. We specialize in HOAs and multifamily properties, and also high-end residential painting.
Thank you. Welcome back again. Mark, how about yourself?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our event. My name is Mark Owens. I'm the president of Reliant Construction Management. We are a full construction management firm based in San Francisco, but we do work throughout the entire Bay Area, from scope development to full management of all types of projects, small, large, and all in between, including defect reconstruction, capital improvements, fire, life safety, all that stuff. And we've been around since 2009.
Thank you for being here, Mark. We always appreciate you being part of this. And again, my name is Brian Garcia. I'm the account executive for Restoration Management Company. I take care of San Francisco and the Peninsula. Restoration Management Company, we are a full service disaster recovery company. So fires, floods, mold issues, asbestos, all that. We're here to help you out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want to remind everybody that if you are watching this live, please, if you have any questions at all, be on the right side of your screen. I believe you have a comment section that you can post some questions. We're happy to answer questions, and we look forward to your questions. So please ask us anything you need. Also, if you can text us or email us, if you look down below, you'll see a screening or a little thing there at the bottom of our screen there with the phone number. You can text or email. So before we went live, we were having a little discussion, and Daniel had brought up a really good subject to start today's conversation about. So Daniel, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you had read and what you were thinking?
Yeah, well, I was just reading an article, and I wanted to kind of share a little bit about that for several people that would find some interest in this, which is probably vendors and different trades, and also for the managers too, to kind of know what to expect. And that was kind of based on the bidding process, or bidding in these times, in the new normal. And so the article I was reading, it was kind of breaking it down into three phases, and that one of them was the short term, the medium term, and then the long term. The short term was, I think that's kind of where we were at the beginning of the peak of the pandemic, where we were some companies were bidding higher because they needed to compensate for loss on their goals and revenue, and so bidding higher was basically something that they could they try to do to compensate. Some other companies were bidding lower because they needed the work, and they said, well, we need to get some work, and we'll face the cash flow issues later in the future. So you saw probably a lot of the managers probably saw some sort of discrepancies maybe in the bidding, some really low, some really high. Hopefully you got to see a lot of people in the middle, but if you saw a little bit of difference, that's because people were kind of seeing things differently. And then some companies were actually not bidding at all. They just closed down. They said, what, it's not worth it right now. Unless we go safe, and it's better to just kind of wait it out and let everyone else compete each other on higher and lower numbers. That was kind of like the short term. I don't know if you guys, just to kind of roundtable, I don't know if you guys saw that in between your companies.
Well, I know that my company's unique. Obviously, we're disaster recovery, so disasters happen no matter what. No matter what other situations are going on, there's always going to be a fire. There's always going to be a flood, a burst pipe, something like that. So we were pretty lucky in that our stream of work was pretty continuous, and our bidding process didn't change. We tend to be middle of the pack on our bids anyway, and we try to keep that way no matter what. So for us, it's kind of a business as usual and keep moving forward. Now the types of business we were getting did change because of the COVID restrictions, but again, for the most part, it was business as usual and keep moving forward. What about the other two? Mark, Scott?
Scott, you want to jump in first? Yeah.
Our bidding process didn't really change much. We did take into fact about different protocols that you have to follow on the job sites now, as far as having a COVID supervisor and the administration work that is follows all the new protocols. So our bidding pretty much stayed the same, but we kind of came up with about a 2% increase in areas to compensate for the extra work that is required now.
Right. Good point.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle as well with our work and my team's work, what we do, because we're hired on behalf of the HOA hires us on behalf of them to kind of manage projects. So we do the whole bidding process. So what fortunately for us in that particular time frame, especially from the start of the pandemic until where we are now, and that initial shutdown and all this other stuff, there was nothing really, not a lot new coming in as far as what we were actually in the bid process or reviewing. But similar to what you, Scott, said, and Daniel mentioned too as well, and we did see when everybody, as we're regrouping to either resume work or actually more importantly, as looking at proposals already submitted, that there was some pullback on them for a variety of reasons, including to maybe reassess them to kind of put something in place as a contingency for the additional COVID costs. Just so it wasn't. I encourage my team to kind of work with all the vendors we're working with to do that, to be really mindful as well, because it was also more important so that the HOA and property management can also really evaluate these well. But Daniel, to your point, I did see some of those things that you mentioned. A couple things, a couple vendors that pulled out, so they didn't want to do anything right now that were in the bid process. And then I did a couple projects that my team was handling. We did see a way more wider range of numbers coming in than we would typically find, and especially with these vendors that we have worked with, and we attributed to that very thing that you said, that I think was they were either trying to do whatever they were doing, they were either compensating for one thing, or whether it was a kind of a cash flow issue or a concern about their viability or combo pack. But to your point, I don't see that now for sure. And it's going to be interesting to see. And I know you're going to talk about the other medium and high stuff here, but I think that's where we're definitely in that medium range now, I believe.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because so that's kind of what happened, at the beginning, because there was so much uncertainty with this, and so people were kind of seeing, okay, well, what do we do? But in the medium term now, I think we're kind of in the medium term where we're thinking, okay, well, we're gonna see a few more projects, cancellation projects. Projects that because they're seeing that this might be a little longer than we expected. They're gonna say, you know what? Let's just wait. Let's see what happens. And so we probably saw that, in different projects or management companies, HOAs that just said, you know what? Let's just wait on that big project we had. I actually bid a job that they were going to do a full painting on the entire property, and then they just call us to do just some accent walls. So it changed completely. They said, we do want to make it look better, but probably not right now. So they just basically scaled down to just some smaller things. And this would basically, as projects get canceled or they get postponed, this will kind of invariably mitigate some cost increases and potentially invert into less demand, which means less work, which often should lead to a more competitive environment. And this will kind of start preparing the steps for that memory of 2018, where we saw just bidding had the word competitive all over the place, right? It was just we had to be competitive. So that's kind of like what we're seeing right now, the medium term, which is starting to get a little bit more on the competitive side. And then the long term that we talked about, and it's kind of scary, is the considering that the pandemic is going to hang out around a lot longer than we expected. It's going to carry probably until next year. Then we will likely be in the middle of a recession, and costs will come down in the recession. Liquidity is going to dry up. Companies are going to be probably closing down. Work is going to vanish, and in the private sector, and it's going to really matter as far as bidding process. It's going to matter on timing, costs, and relationships. We were talking about that, just the fact that it's going to based a lot on relationships, keeping good relationships with our vendors and our the managers, and just making sure that they're happy with us. That's gonna be kind of the long term. I don't know what you guys think.
No, I agree. I think to your point about the long term, I think you actually did a good example, Daniel, of how like a larger project that you were scoped for, and you were in the running and maybe even selected for, they then changed their minds. To that point, I think we're going to most likely see that for all of us. I know for us, we'll probably see, instead of like these larger projects, we're going to be doing smaller ones that we're managing. And again, it won't necessarily be these. It'll be a different way that we're working with these and the relationships that we have with these folks. It'll also change how we're conducting our work in our business, because that's going to change how our cash flows and our revenue generating it will be. It's going to be a little bit more stressful for everybody. But also, I wanted to mention really quickly, I think other, both Scott and Brian can jump in, but also to your point, you talked about the recession piece. To bring this from the property side, even though I'm not property management, I know folks at the property management side are probably potentially seeing the writing on the wall that sooner or later, if they haven't done already, maybe some of these properties are going to have some units that are going to be in arrears with their dues, foreclosures, sales, vacant units, especially in apartment buildings, are going to come up. Things like that, they're going to happen. I mean, there's a whole shift right now in San Francisco alone where there's a lot more rental units on the market. I actually saw the other day that there are actually smaller homes that are actually below $1 million now that are being listed here. So some properties are coming down. So it's going to create an interesting market. And I think that's going to continue. So that's also going to affect us as well as a trickle down effect, because we're not going to, because folks are not going to have, like you guys, the liquidity piece of it is that they're not going to either have the money or be concerned about the money they have and how they're going to use it, at least until we get through this, this scary period that it's definitely going to most likely going to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Scott, what do you think?
I agree. They're seeing a big change. What I've noticed a lot is materials aren't being as readily available for the job when you do get them, and the cost of materials are fluctuating so much that you can't really hold a bid for 30, 60 days anymore when you're talking with property managers or apartment complexes.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And that goes, well, that leads into a whole nother subject. I think there's a few things we need to kind of quickly touch base on. One is, for any property managers that are watching right now, we would love you to chime in on this. But how are these properties preparing their budgets for next year, for 2021, and looking into 2022?
Yep.
Right? Because especially for us here in the Bay Area, there is a mass exodus going on right now with the ability to work from home. There's a number of tech people who have decided, well, if I don't have to live here and live in this $2 million home, I'm out of here and I'm moving to Texas or Denver or wherever where it's significantly cheaper to live, which is going to leave a big hole in the market here.
Yeah.
And of course, we're still on rent freezes, and there's still the apartments that are figuring out how they're going to get their rents paid. So that's something we need to be very conscious of and aware of moving into next year, into 2021, and looking into 2022. So there's that aspect. The increase in materials, the availability of materials is going to affect us as vendors pretty hard, and that goes into our bidding process and how our bidding processes are working moving forward. Also, 2021, 2022, because those are going to be insane. They're going to change. You're right, Scott. They're going to change on a daily basis. I have some steel worker friends who are just on a daily basis I can't get my materials.
Yeah. And
the materials I am getting, they're twice the cost. So that's something that needs to be, I think that property managers need to be very, very aware of. I'm not sure that they're aware of that right now. And so that is something that needs to be addressed and brought to, especially on the HOA side, brought to the attention of the board members.
Right.
Really quick.
Jumping in, Brian, really quick, I want to mention, because and Scott, to Scott's point too as well, that change, like you said, you can't hold things for 30 days anymore. And there's a review process and approval process that has to be done, because their boards or property owners, obviously they're holding the purse string. So if they take however long, it's going to change. And so they looked at something, and then so the property managers point of view, they're going to, it adds to their complexity and their strain, and their stress of their job, because they're going to have to kind of push things to happen, review and approval to happen quicker potentially, or saying, hey guys, this is now, but literally in 15 days from now, we don't have approval. We got to go back to Scott and say, hey Scott, revise your numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's realistic, but that changes everything. You know what I mean? And it just changes what we've typically done over the years.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that the onus falls on us to be in clear communication with our property managers and our HOAs that we deal with, that this is the reality right now. And it's not that we're trying to put undue pressure on you, but you need to be aware that our cost today is probably not our cost next week.
True.
So that's part of our, but that goes back to the relationships, right? The relationships that we have with our customers. And I think it's incredibly true that relationships, much as they were in 2010, relationships are going to be key. We have to have those relationships. We have to be the honest, true, trusted advisors to our customers. And I think this is just highlighting that again, the clear communication between us
Yep.
Our vendors and our customers.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's going to be,
Yeah,
that's
it's gonna
gonna
be a good factor. It's actually and ultimately the property the board of directors, right? Typically they have the last word on whether they choose someone. But I think it's important that managers get educated into this situation so they can kind of explain to them, because some people will make decisions based on fear and say, let's just wait, and it's good to be hopeful, right? It's good to be hopeful that it's gonna get better, and they're hoping that it's gonna get better. But I think when we were talking before, we it's not that we want to be pessimistic or just negative, but I think it's important to see that aspect so we can prepare for it and we can be ready for the worst. And that means sometimes making decisions a little bit better, and saying, you know what, let's do it now because it might get worse. let's uh, let's get these projects done and get them over with before it gets worse. uh, and it's that's one less thing to worry about. We actually did a property that I felt horrible doing, because we were painting over dry rot like crazy. And we said, "Are you sure?" This was an HOA property, and we're like, "Are you sure you don't want to fix this area?" It's like, and it's like, "Nope. We just want to make it look a little bit better for this year, and then we'll deal with the dry rot in the future." And it's just like, instead of actually saving some money, they're actually costing even more. And I feel, and we told them, like, I feel horrible doing that. It's not the right way that we want to get work.
Yeah.
We love to paint, we love to put make properties look nice, but not in that way where we can see that the decision that is being made, it's not being uh being a positive decision for the future. So
And I think that brings up another good subject. One of my fears is the reverting back to just going with the lowest bid, and what the long-term consequences of that are. I working, being in sales, I've been in sales now for 15 plus years. I don't even know anymore. And watching going from being able to go inside there and negotiate a job to, no, we're just going with the lowest bid. We're getting 3 bids. We're going with the lowest bid. That's it, period. And then back into no, we want to negotiate, or we want to, we're just going to go with the mid-range bid. I think it's important, again, to the property managers and to the boards to bring us as your vendors in front of your boards. Sit down with us and talk with us about our proposals, about our bids, and how we prepared them and why we prepared them the way we did. There's always the availability for an open discussion with us as your vendors. We are here to help you. We are here as the professionals who are, have the knowledge to be able to talk to you and explain to you exactly why we are proposing what we are proposing to you. Now, there may be room inside there for changes. We may be able to use different materials or different ways to approach the job, but it's a matter of sitting down with us and speaking with us about what we're here to help you out with. So again, if any property managers are online watching us right now, please, we would love you to chime in on this and get your perspective on what we're talking about, because it is really important, I believe, for us to have these discussions moving forward. I mean, it's always important for us to have these discussions in the first place, but especially now. So please If you have any questions, let us know. So what is your guys' opinion on, or let me rephrase that. How have your customers been approaching you about the current bids right now? Are they willing to sit down with you and talk to you about the entire bid process and making sure that all the bids that are being presented are apples to apples bids?
I'm seeing it's about 50-50. 50% of them are low bid. They just want to get a number and review them. They're not always looking for it to be apples to apples, but they are looking for the best way to remedy their problems that they are having. And then 50% of them are taking the time to at least make a phone call or sit down on a Zoom call and discuss the bid with you. Why do we do it this way? You know, is there another process we can go? Is there another, for instance, deck coating we can use that maybe has less labor involved in it? So I'm seeing 50-50 out there.
Okay. Yeah, we need better than 50-50.
I agree 100% on that. We need to be able to get into
as long as it's not worse than 50-50 though, right? We don't want to get worse than 50-50.
Yeah.
I agree with Scott. I agree with Scott. Because of that 50-50, what we've done is we actually just became more meticulous on the way that we provide proposals. We're super. I think a little bit exaggerated too, but super detailed, on every little thing that we put on the proposal, and that way, at least they know exactly where almost every hour is going on the job, and so we try to do that because of the same reason. Because that way we can easily explain, like, well, if they call me back and say, well, you're about 30% higher, let's take a look at some stuff, and here we find out that the product is completely different, or the amount of prep work that I have, it's twice the amount the other company has, and so that means that they're just gonna blow and go, right?
Right.
So I try to be more detailed in my proposals, just because I see that difference in some people that want to see that, and they can tell right away, okay, well, this is what I was looking for, and some people that they just want the lowest number, and at least they will be able to tell them why we're higher than others. So that's what we've been doing, just kind of change our proposals to a lot more detail.
Good. Yeah. Mark, what do you think? Have you been? How have your customers? Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, from me looking and our team looking at the construction side of it, this is like what both Scott and Daniel said is a clear reason why a common scope, agreed upon scope is really important, and no matter when, to help with the process, especially even now, so that helps. Even if they don't have a construction manager looking at things, that's just property management or just the owner, they know that there's comparability there, that everything's comparable. But, we're always going to be stressing that. But if there is, some variation, we're always going to kind of explain everything. For me, as far as what we're bidding for construction management work, and it's to Daniel's point and to Scott's point too, as well as that point, and you too, Brian, is that we've had to revise our proposals to make sure there are even just more things that are included in there. Some things, some scope items about what they're going to get from us as a service, they were implied or just inferred, versus now, and then this way we're making ourselves more competitive, and we're really breaking out our costs even further, so then they can really see what they're getting. So,
yeah,
even better.
Definitely being asked. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
It just comes down to communicating and making sure they're educated on the process of your bid.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a lot more requests for line items on proposals now, and on
right.
Yeah, so that's all good. That's good. So property managers, board members, anybody who's watching, ask us. We're happy to sit down with you and talk to you about these things. And we're happy to discuss with you exactly why we are bidding things the way we are bidding. We want to work with you on this stuff. That is what we do. That's why we're here. That's why we're here presenting today about this stuff also, is we want to have those open lines of communication and the clear understanding of expectations and how we're moving forward with our jobs. So please, reach out to us and feel free to call us to your board meetings. I love going to board meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're a little tricky, but
yeah,
for the most part. So,
they're interesting.
Yes, they can be.
Well, we're coming to the end here today. Again, thank everybody who's watching. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about today's talk, please, you can comment on our YouTube. You can also text to 510-458-2120 and ask any questions on there also. We're all here for you all the time to help you out. It's what we do. We are here to be your advisors and work with you on your projects and make sure that things go smoothly with you. So again, thank everybody here for being part of this, and thank everybody who watched today. And we look forward to seeing you again in a couple weeks. And we will put up a flyer here soon on what our next subject may be. We may keep going on with this current subject just because there is so much more to move forward with, but we'll put up a flyer towards that probably near the end of next week. So again, thank you so much for being a part of this, and we look forward to.
And we miss Daisy and Aneta from.
They'll be back. They'll be back. But
Scott, will be back next week.
Got you on board with us this week. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Scott.
All right. Thanks so much.